Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Today's session is on Azure AI Foundry. So let's start. So as you have seen, this is a three-part series having sessions on MCP, AI Foundry, and Microsoft Agent Framework. So in the last session, we discussed about MCP, which is technology for integrating tools, resources with agentic application. Today we'll focus on AI Foundry, which is an enterprise-grade platform as a service. And in the next session, we'll talk about Microsoft Agent for Framework, which is used to build agentic API AI application. So the approach is going to be similar like we had in the past. These sessions are going to be concepts, demo, and I'll have some time at the end for question answering. This is a continuous series. So I had these sessions on various topics in the past. All the recordings links are there in the invite in case you want to go through that. So let's start with Azure AI Foundry. It's basically a platform as a service, a unified platform which is available on Azure, which is enterprise grade, and it is meant for people who want to develop AI or agentic AI application. It provides a very robust uh, production grade infrastructure with user interface friendly interfaces, primarily meant for developers community. What it offers basically agents, models, tools under single management group so that one can actually in an enterprise way build applications, perform all the support activities like tracing, monitoring, evaluation, and customization. It's a fully secured platform with role-based access control. You have control on networking and using policies. You can actually manage that from a security and operational point of view. Like I said, this is designed for developers. It's basically a platform where developers can build generative or agentic AI applications which are enterprise grade from a security and other capability perspective. You can explore, build, test, and deploy cutting edge AI models and machine learning models. And also, everything is grounded in the responsible AI umbrella so that you're sure uh, about the responsible AI aspect. It offers you a full life cycle development environment so that multiple people can work across uh, different parts of the project. And the most important thing is it gives you a unified and a consistent API contract, uh, agnostic to the underlying models. And we'll see Azure AI Foundry offers you so many models from different model providers. And what it basically enables a single consistent interface for application developers to make use of their capability, irrespective of what model is underlying. Now, each application requires some way to connect to the AI capabilities that is offered. And basically, Azure AI is designed specifically for building agentic application, which is the focus of this series. And it can really work across different models and other capabilities. And what is basically good about it is that I can build an application later on as things evolve or change. I can choose a different model going forward. Beside providing an RESTful interface, um, Azure AI Foundry offers you SDK that you can incorporate in your application. Could be a mobile application, web application, or other uh, enterprise application like CRM order management. So depending on what is the platform that you use, you can make use of this SDK. Azure AIFoundry extension is available in Visual Studio Code that gives more capabilities, and one can actually remain in the development environment in order to create models, make use of other capabilities without having to basically leave it. So essentially, it offers you a portal for doing things at the same time. Using this Studio Code extension, you can actually do pretty much everything, and we'll see that. So there are hundreds, in fact, there are thousands of models. You can basically choose a model. It's basically a one-stop destination for discovery of the model, evaluating it, then deploying it. And then you can make use of those models if you're building a custom application like Copilot or building an agent, or probably you may have a use case where you're extending the existing applications and incorporating some AI or agentic capabilities. So what it offers you, all those capabilities under one roof or one umbrella, and we'll see that through demo. Beside GenAI, Azure Foundry also addresses the need in terms of other AI capabilities like perception AI, which is basically you want to do natural language processing, you want to do speech to text, text to speech, you want to identify objects in an image, you want to do translation. All those capabilities are also available in AI Foundry. So basically, it gives you a comprehensive capabilities uh, for you to choose what you need. Since it is running on Azure, it is enterprise grade, fully secured, and additionally, you can benefit from other services from Azure Bucket, for example, for automation and integration using tools like Logic Apps and Power Automate. You can deploy uh, Azure functions and app services in order to build your application fully without having to leave um, the platform. Some of the services are available as Docker also, and then you can also incorporate other analytical uh, tools like Apache Spark, Databricks, and Analytics in order to really build your application. We'll see all that. So in terms of the services, you have Azure AI Search. We will talk about it. That's basically the search engine which powers your Gen AI or agentic applications. You have services from OpenAI under Azure OpenAI, which are the pioneer foundation models from OpenAI. You have bot service, basically to implement chatbot like interface. Content safety is built in, so you can actually do uh, all those things that is required in terms of regulating, all the contents in the form of prompt getting into your application and the responses, and you can manage and filter them out. Document intelligence is the OCR capability. You may have a lot of information in the form of documents, unstructured data like PDF, Word files, PPTX, PowerPoint files. So you really want to leverage that enterprise knowledge, and you can make use of document intelligence to basically extract the content and then put it in what is called a vector database for implementing an application architecture like RAG, and we'll discuss that. Other services include FACE, which is basically to detect and identify people and emotions. So if you have a use case like security or monitoring, you can make use of that. Immersive Reader is a capability you would have seen most of the browser and operating system support. which helps user read and comprehend text. There are language services in terms of understanding natural language, intent, detection, entities. Speech, I just talked about speech to text, text to speech, translation, identifying speaker. Then you have translator services, video indexer, and vision. So these are kind of high level, uh, basically services which are available under Azure AIFoundry. Like I mentioned, it's a very comprehensive and very rich platform for building uh, anything which is AI or agentic AI. So let's see that in action. So let me just bring up. So what we have discussed Azure AI Foundry, supporting all this SDK, the different types of projects. Then we've discussed about models, and we'll see that in practice. So when you go to AI Foundry portal, this is what you see. You see on the left blade, you have model catalog, playgrounds, agent templates, fine tuning, and we'll go through them one by one. The model catalog is essentially are the models which are available for you to make use of in your application. So there are thousands of models, and there are basically bundled as collections based on the model providers. You can actually filter them based on the capabilities, type of task, whether you want to do auto origination, content safety, language detection, chatting. So these models, text to speech, basically are categorized, and you can choose to filter them out so that you can identify. Uh, you may like to extend the foundation model and fine tune it to your specific domain in task. So you have a lot of models available for fine tuning, and then you have different types of licenses, MIT, Apache. Now, if you see at the bottom, what you have is set of models uh, from OpenAI, Grok, Mistral, um, Meta, which is Llama series, DeepSeek. Almost all popular models are available for you to use. How do you use them? You basically create what is called as a deployment. So basically, either you click on the model or you go to the model deployments. So here you can see I've deployed one model. Deployment means creating an instance specific to your need in terms of what is the type of models, what is the token limits, and all other settings and configuration from a parameters perspective. So you choose this model. There are number of models that you can choose. For example, let's see if we want to deploy GPT-5. I've done that already, so let's deploy uh, O4 Mini. So you choose the model. There's a model card which highlights the capabilities the model has. All the information related to the model is displayed here. You confirm, uh, choose the type of deployment, whether you want it to be global or local, which is regional, and you may customize uh, basically where it is deployed, tokens per limit, and all that. And when you press deploy, you would have that particular model available for you to use in your application. That's pretty much making a model available to your need. So what you get is the key, which is hidden. You get a URI that is basically that would be used if you're making a call. Then on the right hand side, you can see you have options of starting from right to left. Key authentication, so that means you can make a call to the endpoint using an API key, or you can use an integrated intra-ID authentication, which is much more secure. There are types of SDKs available, OpenAI and Azure OpenAI, and you get different languages. So what you get here is all that you require. Say, for example, I'm building a Python application and I'm using key authentication. I'll get a basic code that I can use um, to build that application, and then use that as a baseline, and then extend it to the functionality that I require. So everything is well documented. If you choose to use another language, for example, C#, you will see an equivalent code. What is the authentication mechanism? What packages are required in terms of dependency, and it'll give you a code sample. So you can start without having to write a code. I mean, manually, just copy paste this and start extending it based on your use case. So that is about the model. Now, Azure AIFoundry offers you number of playgrounds. So playgrounds are basically the option that AIFoundry provides you to start, playing with the model. So let's say we want to do a chatting like thing. So I have chat playground. I can provide the instruction in the context. I can add parameters, uh, system prompt, configure it, and start, testing the model. So that's basically is the chat playground. You have other playgrounds. For example, let's go to speech playground. Now, speech playground offers you the capability for you to do a lot of things like live voice, video translation, real-time transcription. This is a very good use case where you can actually test how basically this capability will be made available. For example, I'll just start recording, and before that I want to enable some option like speaker diarization. Now this is a very good facility. If you have multiple speakers, it will identify them, and you have option to label them also. So let's start recording and see what happens. Now, as you can see here, whatever I'm speaking, it is getting transcribed as text. Now, this is a very important in use cases where you want to convert voice to text, and if you may also for the response convert text to voice. So what happens here, as I speak in real time, this voice is getting transcribed, and I have this what is called as a transcript available, both as a text as well as JSON, and I can make use of that in my application. I may use this as an input to some GenAI based processing. For example, I want to summarize if there is a conversation between multiple people, you want to summarize something similar is available on Teams, but this offers you the code to be incorporated in your application. So let's say you have a CRM system and you're talking to the customer, and you want to, instead of making notes, you basically enable that in the CRM application. The whole discussion is real-time transcribed, and the agent can actually use that transcript as is, or maybe summarize it, or also basically subject it to some GenAI processing, for instance, identifying the key actions, identifying what are the problems the customer is facing, and that uh, sort of a structured output from an LLM model can really be stored as a interaction history for the future use. So that's something which is very good. So what I'm trying to highlight here is uh, you probably would have use cases where it is not just uh, the the perceptive AI that you want to use. You may also like to uh, augment Gen AI with capabilities like speech to text and text to speech. So that is all about playground. So you have so many playgrounds. That is basically try before you decide. Azure AI Factory also offers you the capability to create agents. Now, as you know, agents are um, programming constructs which can autonomously perform some tasks. So they have the reasoning capabilities by providing access to tools and uh, basically context. They can achieve almost or most of the tasks that is assigned. So basically, agent is the next level to Gen AI, where you want Gen AI to perform actions after reasoning by looking at a context, maybe extracting data. So you can actually create agents very easily here and expose them through an API for any application to call. So let's try creating an agent. So I don't know what happened. Try one more time. So what I'm doing here is, if it works, uh, I just uh, I just create an agent, give an agent name, agent for demo. There's an agent ID. Choose what type of model that I want to connect it to. Provide the instruction to the agent. Providing instruction to the agent is essentially telling the agent to behave in a certain way or acquire a personality or act like somebody. Could be an agent which basically do research. It can be an agent which can summarize text. So you provide that instruction and provide a description, a detailed description, and this is very useful when you basically have multi-agent uh, architecture. This agent description is very useful for the age. If you have a multi-agent architecture where there is a main agent which is more like an orchestrator, and the agent has multiple sub-agents. So based on this description, the supervisor agent is really going to allocate a task. Okay, and we'll see that. Now, agent requires the context, it requires some knowledge because the foundation model may not have visibility, or these models have not seen the enterprise data, which is most of the time private. Or you basically have information coming out of operational systems. So that knowledge you can provide. So remember, agent without knowledge and action are not agents are not useful. So basically, this knowledge and the capability to do action makes really agents very useful, very powerful. So you can choose different data sources. You can upload files. You can make use of Azure AI Search, which is the search engine um, that Microsoft offers. It's a very important component of your RAG architecture, retrieval augmented generation. If you have already documents and information in your SharePoint, you can connect. If you want to perform some search um, on the internet, you can choose that. And there are other data providers like TripAdvisor, Morningstar. Now these are very specific data providers that can provide you information. For example, TripAdvisor is a very popular travel site, and it has a lot of information about airlines, hotels, and all other related services. So you choose uh, basically the knowledge source. So here, let's say uh, if I am using a file, it is going to create a vector store, which is Azure AI search behind the scene, and that would help the agent to search for something which is relevant. You also have to provide some capabilities like taking actions. So an agent without action is of no great use. Action is basically doing something, based on the context. So typically, if you go inside the agentic architecture, agents have the reasoning capabilities. They can actually um, observe and then react. So the reaction is taking action. And then it can be sort of a plan where they take an action, observe the outcome, and then plan the next step. So there are different orchestration configuration that agent can be configured to. But essentially, this is where agent is going to do something, and that would have some uh, effect. For example, there is an API that you have. So you have built an agentic application, which is the example that I have given um, for the CRM, where a customer interaction is used as an input to decide what is, the pain points and what kind of a problem or what issue the customer is facing. And then you would like to take an action by creating a ticket appropriately. You may have a works management system, you may have a CRM, billing system. But depending on uh, what is the context, the agent can perform some tasks. So it can make call to an OpenAI uh, endpoint, which is an API endpoint. It can trigger an Azure Logic app. So Logic app is basically a business process management workflow solution. It can run, it can generate uh, code and execute that code in a sandbox. That's the code interpreter capability. You can configure custom functions as your functions. So the point I'm trying to make, when you build an agent, you equip that agent with the kind of knowledge it is required. Knowledge can be your operating manuals, could be the information which is there in the databases, and also depending on the context, you want the agent uh, to take actions, and that's where this will come. Now, like I mentioned before, you can have a complex use case where you require multiple agents focused on a specific task or a domain. And then you want a supervisor, an orchestrator agent to basically delegate the given task based on what the user prompt is about. And there you would have what is called as a hierarchy of agent. You can add sub agents, and you'll have to create those agents first. So you can use agent standalone, like you can expose them as an API and your application call it. Or if you have much more complex scenario, uh, you can have a main agent or a supervisor agent which will orchestrate between sub agents. And if you remember, um, we talked about the agent description. So this agent um, will basically use the sub agents, and it is basically here you specify the condition under which the agent should be activated. You're basically saying uh, if it is related to billing or if it is related to customer service, you should invoke this agent and hand over the context for the agent to work. So that's how you create an agency. You can configure different model parameters in terms of temperature, top pay, and you can also have voice capability, which can really be useful. So you can actually go to voice live player, where you have basically the capabilities, which is speech to text, text to speech, in front of your agent, which means this agent, so you create sort of a mobile application or a web portal where the customer can speak in their own language, and that speech will be converted to text behind the scene. The agent will take care of that. Agent will make use of all the capabilities it has in terms of knowledge sources and tools, take an action, and the final results would be basically again converted from text to speech. This is going to happen real time, and this is really very good. So, what AIFoundry offers you a sort of a unified capability in terms of not only just doing agents, but also making sure that it supports modalities out of the box. That's something very, very useful. So let me just go back. So we were talking about agents. Now, sometimes the foundation models would not be good enough, and that's where um, you can do fine tuning. Fine tuning is essentially uh, taking the model. So let me just talk about fine tuning bit here. So basically, you have these pre-trained AI model or foundation models, which are kind of generic, and you basically provide context, and then they act differently with instruction that is given. Sometimes it is not enough because you want the models to be specialized in a domain or optimized for a task, or you know, they have to be behaving in a particular style and tone or instruction. So basically, this is like customizing the foundation model. This is not creating a new model. It is leveraging an existing model and refining it to your need. You can do that as well. That's called fine tuning. And what you require uh, in order to do that, uh, in terms of data, that you have to put in what is called a validation set and a test set, is in the form of a JSON. What you are doing here is you are providing a representative set of training and validation data set for the model to be fine-tuned. There are a number of technologies which are used for fine-tuning, but essentially, uh, from your side, what you have to provide is a set of messages. For example, a system message, which is an instruction, then the user, which is what typically a prompt would look like. And so that's basically called user prompt. So the role is user. And you also have to provide what is the expected response, which is the assistant completion. So this is basically for a given question and instruction, this is the expected output, and you give as many examples as possible. So there is a minimum set of training and validation data that you have to give, but it is advised to give as much as possible. And what would happen through the fine-tuning process, the model would be extended or modified or refined to your use case. So that's very useful. The other capabilities which are very important, especially in the enterprise space that we work on, is guardrails. So security and content safety is very important. So you basically have a mechanism where you can apply content filters, you can have block lists, you can specify security alerts and recommendation, and the platform will take care of it. It will notify if your application is not being used correctly or there's something which is not right, especially when you deploy it in production. So that's basically very useful capabilities. You have tracing and monitoring built in. Fine tuning I've talked about. You can run a lot of workloads in batch. And I mentioned you provide set of data as files or vector stores that basically provides the additional context to your application. So that's pretty much I have. And let me just go back to my presentation. So to sum it up, Azure AIFoundry is a unified platform as a service. You choose the subscription option, whether it's pay per use or you can opt for a defined capacity, which is called PTU, provision throughput unit, where certain capacity would be made available to you and you will build monthly. It is production grade because Azure as a hyperscaler um, is being used as a platform to run multiple types of workload, either as an infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. This is more of a platform as a service model. In the last couple of years, you would have seen agents becoming very useful. So they basically take the discourse of GenAI to the next level. And Azure AI Foundry gives you the option to create agents and deploy models that agent will use, and then expose those agents as an API, or you can incorporate them through the SDK depending on your programming language. That really makes the deployment, building and deployment so easy, because you would have heard people have uh, different types of frameworks, um, for example, LangChain, um, AutoGen. So all those are great GenAI or agentic framework, but you also need a platform to deploy them. Whereas AI Foundry gives you a unified platform to do everything, and not just the GenAI use cases, but other um, perception AI use cases like object detection, sentiment analysis, text to speech, speech to text. It's a great tool. If you want to try, go ahead. There is when you sign up, you get $200 free credit for a month. That is good enough for you to um, try and experiment. So that's pretty much for today's.